Hey you, here, take a look at this. You see all this junk? What's this? Some cheap Pamela Anderson cash grab? Rambo, the video game? What about here? Rise of the Robots? More like walking trash cans. The crew? This doesn't even work anymore. Thanks, Ubisoft. So this actually belongs in the trash. They are all trash. And if you want to see a giant pile of garbage, we just have to go digital. Yeah, let's sort this by garbage and... Hey, wait a minute. What's that supposed to mean? Let's just take a closer look at these. Super Trash Boy. So this is actually a recent-ish indie game you can play for free on itch.io. You're a good and mindful kid who runs along an endless street collecting trash. By collecting coins and selling all the trash, you can buy upgrades to make collecting trash more efficient and unlock new levels. It's a bit mindless and grindy, but good fun for a couple of minutes every now and then if you want to waste a bit of time. There's quite a few more of these free indie games. Quite a few. Very often single screen score attack games, often reskins of other games, like Garbage Day, where you are a garbage bin and catch all the trash people litter from their windows. Empty it all into the big dumpster before you're too full to move, and survive, which means don't miss too many pieces of trash for as long as you can. And rake up the score. Similar to this is Garbage Collector. The core concept is the same, but here you don't have to worry about getting filled up. Instead, different kinds of trash have different effects on you, increasing or decreasing your score or making you dizzy. In theory, this would lead to some form of strategy, but the game is too random and your options are too limited, so that it mostly comes down to trying to ignore most of the trash, except for the one kind guaranteed to increase your score a little bit. Of the two games, I very much prefer Garbage Day, because there's just a little bit more to it. But then there's Garbage Boy. It's a Game Boy style game functioning very similar to the previous two. You move your trash can right and left to catch falling garbage and have to empty yourself to not lose a life. But it gets a tiny bit more complicated. You have to select the correct kind of trash can for whatever garbage you collect, and you have to empty the trash in the correct spot, while also having selected the correct bin. The falling trash gets faster and more numerous the longer the game goes on, so this gets rather tricky after a while. A neat concept that would have been perfect on a Game Boy back in the day. For something completely different, there's Garbage Hero. It's like a reversed waste disposal game. You're the anti-garbage man who throws sacks of trash at people's houses to bring a bit of color into their life. Don't know how that works. It's a cute idea, though the game lasts only for about 5 minutes and you've pretty much seen all there is after the first level. Now I singled out these indie games, but there's another type of indie game. The ones created in basements and computer labs during the ancient era of computer games. Games made by either single devs or studios comprised of a group of friends. One of those games is Trashman. It's as simple as it can get. Kinda what you expect from early home computer games. Limited controls, a simple goal, and all you do is collect points. And of course garbage. Collect the bins, carry them over to your truck to empty them, and then return them. Don't step on the lawn or your timer massively decreases, and also try not to get hit by the cars or it's an instant game over. That's what you do all day long. Sometimes a resident gives you a tip, which increases your timer, but that's really it. It's not exciting, but it's good and honest work. Subsequent levels change the layout of the map and introduce additional obstacles. Now, even though I called it simple, it's quite sophisticated. All the different rules and obstacles are grounded in reality and make a lot of sense. Of course you need to watch out for traffic before crossing the road. Of course you shouldn't trample on the lawn or the residents will complain about you. So the decreasing timer not only represents the time it takes for you to finish the job, but also how satisfied the residents or your boss are. When you pick up a full garbage bin, your movement speed decreases, but it increases again once you emptied the bin. You wouldn't expect this attention to detail that also impacts gameplay and decision making in such a simplistic game, though to be fair, a lot of games from that era had simulated physics and the like. The developers went the extra mile to make it more believable or immersive. It's more so modern games that often don't care about these things anymore. The game did get somewhat of a reimagining or spiritual sequel with PYST. The game trades the overhead perspective for a pseudo 3D style, but still retains the pixel art look. And while it keeps some of Trashman's elements, like the progression of going up one straight road, carrying and returning the trash cans, even slowing down while carrying a bin, it is less grounded in reality and throws out the mundane for the insane. Everyone is out to get you, they hate that they need you to pick up their trash. Ruthless drivers don't stop for you, cyclists just crash into you, dogs are taking a bite out of you, random passerbys beat the shit out of you. They even installed rocket turrets. Madness. Madness. And when you manage to collect and empty and return 8 bins in all this chaos, you progress to the next level that looks mostly the same. And has you do the same, with slightly more obstacles. What could fly in the 80s though is now a bit lacking. There is a neat Wild West level, but that's all the variety you'll get from this game. Running around also isn't the smoothest experience. There's a lot of friction whenever you get close to a fence or a wall, stopping you in your tracks, which wastes time and can also lead to some cheap hits. Sometimes, after having emptied a trash can, one of the residents hollers you over from the door, and approaching them opens up a small minigame reminiscent of old arcade games. It's a nice diversion, but not developed enough to be more than just worth a chuckle. It's a fun reimagining of a classic game, but not really something worth paying money for. The next game is Pixel Junk Scrappers, an arcade-style brawler with the gimmick that you're escorting a garbage truck. So while beating up enemies, you have to collect all kinds of trash and bring it over to your truck to make fat cash. Or you can stack and throw it, or you can even throw defeated enemies in the trash. Just chug them in. Every now and then there's a little puzzle or boss fight, but mostly you just run to the right, pick up trash and beat up baddies with simple combos. You can find different weapons, and due to them having different attack speeds and combos, they do require a different approach towards combat encounters, but they don't change up the gameplay too much. The game is a bit slow and repetitive. I guess it could be fun in multiplayer co-op, but on my own, I didn't have the greatest of time, despite the fun concept. So far, all we have done is collected a bunch of trash and disposed of it. Well, we got it out of the house, out of the city, and brought it all over to PYST Island. This is supposed to be the land of mist after 4 million people just waltzed through it and left all their garbage behind. It calls itself a parody, but that's quite a stretch. This here could barely be called a game. It's more like all these interactive educational software products from the early 90s. You have static backdrops and just click on a handful of objects to have things happen. A small animation or a FMV sequence and the like. There is no goal in here, there are no puzzles and challenges, just puerile humor and lazy references. Featuring John Goodman. Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Stressful being the king of pain. No, the king of the game? Yes, I am the king of the game.
You just navigate through a handful of different screens, contextualized as postcards sent from the island. Behold the disgusting scenery and click on stuff to produce even more garbage. Or have dogs piss on the whole thing. Look, it's bird shit. But is this really it? Is this how we're gonna deal with all the trash? Just ship it over to an island far out at sea? Can there even be a satisfying solution to the problem with our increasing waste production? Yes, there is. And that's what this game is about. In Fresh Start, we are armed with a vacuum water hose machine and venture into nature and, well, clean up the trash. It's easy, just spray the junk hills, water the flowers, and soon all the little critters will return and nature will heal. The game looks like the many physics sandboxes out there, but it really isn't. There's not much physics going on. You just point and click to clean, suck, and water. It's not really about the water molecules hitting anything, and the gunk isn't splattered around. This is more a chill game to wind down, not to have some hijinks going on, and I can appreciate that. It's satisfying to behold the results of your hard, well, tedious work and see those beautiful environments clean again, even without the most complicated or involved mechanics. For a more engaging experience, let's look at Deponia. Now here's a rather popular release from, I guess, the German adventure game developer. Daedalic is known for cult hits like Edna and Harvey, The Whispered World and of course the Deponia series. but being well loved within the German gaming scene, internationally they're not that well regarded. Even their more popular and successful games received middling to bad reviews internationally. And ultimately their last game, The Lord of Ring Golem, killed the studio, at least as a game developer. That said, despite some flaws, especially with the atrocious German voice acting, I mean really, Germans have forgotten how to act over the last, I don't know, 50 years, and especially voice actors seem to think making a silly voice is good enough for the protagonist of a game.
Sollte das Spiel nicht längst starten? Ja, schon. Aber die Schrottpresse ist kaputt. Gut, dass ich dieses Mal den perfekten Plan habe.
Come on, take this shit seriously. I've heard people complain about miss or bad translations as well as bad voice acting in the English version, but I haven't seen any of it. The English voice actors do a way better job than the German ones. Maybe it's my German brain just making sense of the actual text, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But back to the actual topic. The game's a fun, old-school graphic adventure game, very much akin to Monkey Island. There's no dying or soft locking here, just a lot of running back and forth if you can't figure out what the developers want from you. Most of the puzzles are rather intuitive or begin to make sense after a bit of fiddling around with all the different objects, but some solutions can be somewhat absurd. The whole combining random objects to create makeshift tools or using them in ludicrous ways fits the whole setting, because this game takes place on a junkyard planet below an advanced society. Everything is made out of trash, drinking water is a greenish thick soup, and people mostly get by scavenging or selling trash. And our hero? No, that's not right. Even within adventure game standards, this guy is an exceptional asshole who knows his way around women. So yeah, our protagonist's goal is to leave this dump, so he has to travel the trash-ridden world, collect even more junk to build somewhat helpful contraptions for a chance to find a new home. And hilarity ensues, I guess. Also conspiracies. A fun ride spanning 4 games with a planned survival game set once again on the trash planet meant to conclude the story. But if you want an adventure more literally about trash, you should take a look at Boxville. This one is a casual adventure, completely told through little pictures, without any words. It's about cans living in a city made out of cardboard boxes, though there is some tiny machinery and the like slot machines and washing machines. You are a soda can looking for your lost dog? It's like a tuna can dog. It's just adorable. Everything in this game is really charming. Inventory puzzles never get overwhelming, and overall this game is on the easier side. But the game has one fatal flaw. You see, even the options are without any text, so when I looked for a way to save and tried this little star, it reset the whole game. Why even is there a way to destroy all your progress without an appropriate explanation? Come on! But you know what? Deep within these piles of garbage, there's a true gem hidden, an actual gold nugget. It's only an early demo for now, but I have high hopes for this one. I'm talking about Kingdoms of the Dump. Fittingly, this retro-style JRPG set in a waste dump world has been thought up by 2 janitors, which gives it a certain authenticity, maybe? At least it's a nice meta detail. You are Dustin Binsley, a squire dreaming to become a knight, who must venture the 5.5 kingdoms of the dump to save the king. Now, this world isn't fully comprised of garbage and scrap. It's more so a regular world, you know, green meadows, clear streams, lush forests. That is just filled with trash. Garbage littered everywhere, heaps of junk, buildings made from rusty metal, cheaply held together. It's a unique setting and art style, and the gorgeous pixel art really brings it to life. Gameplay-wise, it's very much like Super Mario RPG. You explore the world with a top-down view and collect money and goodies along the way, by finding more or less cleverly hidden stashes or by jumping on and over all kinds of platforms. Combat takes place on a grid where you can move around before attacking, if you so choose, and your abilities can also affect the grid, like laying traps, causing fire and the like. Some attacks can also move their target to another space on the grid, pushing them back, for example. It's a novel concept, but most of the time I wasn't really able to make much use of this system. There seems to be no real attack range, so positioning doesn't really affect your ability to attack. There are some attacks that hit adjacent spaces, so the enemy's position can sometimes be in your favor, but there is no real way to control the enemy's movement. Also, most enemies are dead long before you can really employ complex strategies. Only the bosses live long enough to step into a hazard every once in a while. Maybe the moves you learn over the course of the game are dynamic enough to make the system worthwhile. There are also some timed button presses and some special button commands for attack and defense, which for now only results in a damage or defense boost. But this could also feed into the grid-based attacks and effects, like hit an enemy to the side after a successful timed hit, or splash a hazardous effect in a wider arc. I guess we will see what this game has to offer when it releases, whenever that is. I hope it doesn't take too much longer, because it really looks promising. Huh? You're not satisfied? Oh, I see. This isn't hardcore enough for you. You want to see the real shit. Oh, I can give you shit. Like the giant shit you find in Gex 3 Deep Cover Gecko, that you even have to climb on to complete the western level. In the South Park RPGs, taking a shit is a minigame and shitting yourself is a game mechanic, where you have to manage your mana levels and not fill it up too much, as to not fill up your pants with diarrhea. Taking a shit is also a major mechanic in Percy the Potty Pigeon, a ZX Spectrum game where you fly around building your nest while other birds, cars and planes attack you constantly. Your only way of defense is taking a big fat dump.
It's bird shit.
Which drives away the birds and, even better, causes the cars to spin out and crash, completely destroying them. Despite this very juvenile mechanic, the game itself is more sophisticated than it appears. The graphics are rather nice for a Spectrum game at the time. Your bird builds up some momentum you have to plan around, and the target area around your nest gets smaller with every twig you successfully place in it. But the most astonishing thing about this game is the surprisingly smooth turning animation. The game's not just about shit. But there is a game that turns the scatological humor up to 11, that fully commits to the fecal fun, that really revels in its own shit. I'm talking about Conker's Bad Fur Day. Not only are you wading through heaps of shit, have to roll balls of poo around, feed laxatives to cows so they get the screaming diarrhea and steer a charging bull into them while they're on the shitter, you also have to step inside the lair of feces to battle the ultimate shitlord, the Great Mighty Pooh, and in an opera battle of all things.
Me. I am the Great Mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you. A huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some scat, you little twat?
While he excitedly sings about excrement, you have to throw toilet paper into his mouth and flush him away at the end.
Ah, you cursed squirrel, look what you've done. I'm blushing. Oh, what a world. Who'd have thought a good little squirrel like you could destroy my beautiful flagginess? Oh, I'm going. No!
Well, he died the way he lived. Full of shit.
Now that's what I call a bowel movement.
Yeah, and there you have it. With all that garbage and shit and waste, both human and regular, maybe you'll appreciate your little games a bit more, your Marios and Zeldas and Master Chiefs. Maybe show a bit of gratitude that not all of those are trash. Yeah, maybe I should play a game that's considered really good. What about that super hard fantasy game? Yeah, Elden Ring. The name alone sounds hardcore. Let's pop that fucker in.
Horaloo, chieftain of the Badlands.
Yeah.
The ever-brilliant Gold Mask. Fear, the deathbed companion,
Ooh, spooky.
the loathsome dung eater.
The fuck?